What's going on, everybody? Welcome to HP Gaming, and this is a very special video that I'm making. The Nintendo Switch 2 is officially a year old, and it seemingly it feels like it flew by. In all honesty, and I kind of want to just you know reminisce over the last year and give my pseudo reviews of all the games that I've played on the Switch 2, and how where I'm at with the Switch 2 in general in terms of like happiness and the quality of games that we've gotten, and just what I'm excited for in the future for Switch 2. So yeah, let's just dive right in. It launched with Mario Kart World, and I'm not the world's biggest Mario Kart fan. I did enjoy Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch 2 a lot. I put probably 20 or so hours into that game. Again, I'm not a huge kart racer, and whenever Nintendo announced that Mario Kart was going to be $80, but you save 30 if you just got the bundle, of course I'm going to go ahead and get that bundle, and I think that's what most people did. And I have definitely enjoyed my time with Mario Kart World. It is a it's a very good game. It's one of those things where it's almost an impossible scenario to compare it to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because it's had so much DLC with all the courses and stuff like that. That being said, I didn't really enjoy like the open world mode, where you can kind of just go around and do all like the P-switches and stuff like that. I feel like there should have been a little bit more to do if they were going to do something like that. But it's still cool nonetheless that it's in the game, and it just adds more variety to it. My biggest gripe, I think, with the game is just lack of content. We've gotten a couple of updates, to improve the game here and there from Nintendo. But the fact that we're a year in and we still have no significant DLC is quite shocking to me, to be honest. I fully expect DLC to be announced at the next Nintendo Direct, and if it's not there, when is it coming? It's just crazy that we're still a year into Mario Kart World. I personally, and I've talked about this before, but I really thought that they should have used their other games or used Mario Kart World to promote their other games. Like when DK Bonanza came out, like they should have put in like a DK track or multiple tracks, and then added in DK and Pauline based off of DK Bonanza, and then same thing with like Kirby Air Riders and Age of Imprisonment. Like they should have added characters and tracks and stuff like that to promote their other stuff. Maybe they didn't feel like they needed to do that, but I thought that could have been a really cool way to promote those games, like similar to Smash Brothers. Like a lot of characters in Smash Brothers, Star Fox, Fox, Falco, those types of characters that don't really sell a lot of their own games, but they're very popular characters in Smash. I feel like they could have used or turned Mario Kart World into something similar to Smash. And maybe they don't want to do that. Maybe they want to leave it as its own thing and just have the Mario characters. But we've had Splatoon characters and Zelda characters in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so that precedent is there. So that's really where I wanted to start with this kind of review of the Switch 2. I love Mario Kart, but I pretty much don't play the game at all anymore. I haven't played it in months. Just kind of waiting for that DLC to come out. Hopefully it does soon. We'll see. Then we got some kind of the weird stuff with the Dragon Drive. That was like Nintendo's attempt to use the motion control or the mouse control in a unique way, and that game definitely didn't hit. And then obviously DK Bonanza came out, and that game was incredible. One of my favorite 3D platformers of all time. It's up there with Mario Odyssey and Astrobot for sure. I absolutely love that game. And then let's just go through some of the games that I have on here. And I'm not going to spend as much time I did on Mario Kart World, but so Assassin's Creed Shadows, I thought I've only put about maybe an hour or two into it. Again, it's a massive RPG that I've played so many RPGs this year that I just didn't want to dive in. But from what I played, it was really good. There is frame rate issues, and it doesn't look as good as its counterparts on the Xbox and PlayStation and PC, but of course it's not because it's the Switch version. Pragmata, this is one of my favorite games of the year so far. Incredible game. Absolutely loved it. If you were to do a side-by-side between the PS5 and Switch 2 version of this game, you really can't tell. You're going to have to squint. The only way you can really tell is the hair. It's always the hair. Um, Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, my first time through, and I do love the fact that companies do like the reverse art with for the game key card, so you can get that ugly text off the bottom. Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, really really love this game. I had a great time. This is my first time playing Dragon Quest. I'm not a big Dragon Quest fan, I should say, or not that I'm not a fan. I haven't played really any of the other games. So played through that all the way. Fantastic game. It's sort of outstayed its welcome a little bit towards the end, but with like the auto battling, and you can kind of shift where you can, change your how much XP you get, how much damage you deal, and damage you take. I thought that was a neat addition to get through that game a little bit. Star Wars Outlaws. This is a great version of Star Wars Outlaws on the Switch too. That has some frame rate issues here and there, but like the fidelity is great, and it was just a great story. I really did like that. Kirby Air Riders is another one of those I haven't put a ton of time in. It was a Christmas gift, so I didn't buy this one personally for myself. But I have probably put a few hours into this point. It's really fun. I really do need to put more time into it. Little Nightmares 3, I picked this one up. Probably my least favorite out of the Little Nightmares series, and obviously the developer stopped at Little Nightmares 2, and they went on to make Reanimal, which I guess I can also talk about Reanimal. I enjoyed Reanimal for what it was. It is a very short game for $40. It is a hard recommend for that price and the length of it, because there's not really that much replay value with Reanimal, but like graphically the game looks great, and I enjoyed like that campaign. Bravely Default, obviously the remake of the 3DS version of that game. I probably put about 15 hours into this. This was a launch title, so I was playing this and a combination of other things. So I will eventually get back to this one day, but I've already played it on the 3DS. So, but it's a great game, and it's only like $40, so it's like kind of a budget friendly title, which is great. And then Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment. Absolutely loved this game. This is probably my favorite of these Warriors games. I haven't played a ton of like the newer Dynasty Warriors games, but I played all the Zelda ones. It's great. It's a good recommend. It's lengthy. There's a lot of content in this game. I think it's a recommend if you are a Zelda fan. Metroid Prime 4, the big controversy of last year with Miles and him talking so much, which I think if you actually played Metroid Prime 4, he doesn't talk your ear off as the way some reviews make it seem. Like, there are definitely quiet moments in this game where it's just, you playing as Samus going through the game. The game is beautiful. It plays great. I love the Viola stuff. Like, I love, having the hub world, the sand world, where you're kind of driving around, smashing the crystals and stuff like that. I think this game is a little bit overrated. I've not played Metroid Prime 2 or 3, so I don't have any opinions on those games and how it compares to this. Obviously, I think Metroid Prime Remastered is probably the best one of these games. But I do think this game is a bit overrated. If you ever find it on sale, I would highly recommend it. It's really good. Hopefully we get some DLC for it. It ends on a cliffhanger, so who knows if we do or not. But I would love for Retro to get another shot at Metroid Prime, being 5, where because it started out with a different developer. I'm sure most people know this. It started out with a different developer. Nintendo thought it wasn't coming together correctly, so they gave it back to Retro. So Retro had to use stuff that they had already been using. So I would like a full-on Metroid Prime 5 imagining from Retro, that did the first 3. Final Fantasy 7. Never played the original Final Fantasy 7, and I hadn't played Remake since it came out. I never ended up picking it up. I think I played the demo on the PS5, enjoyed it. I just never ended up picking up the game, but finally picked it up on the Switch 2. In fact, I have to. Best Buy has my order for Rebirth. It came out yesterday as of this recording, so I do need to go pick that up. This game is fantastic. I probably put about 40 hours into it. I think I did everything that you can do in the first run. I didn't go back and do like hard mode and stuff like that, but game's absolutely incredible. Story is incredible. Visually, it looks stunning. Has some frame rate issues, of course, but Absolutely an incredible game. And then Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk was a launch game on the cart. Thought this was incredible. I picked up Cyberpunk back on the Xbox when it first released, back in 2019 or 2020, whichever one. I think it was 2019 that game came out because it was like December. Didn't really have any issues with any sort of bugs or anything like that. I just, for whatever reason, at that point in my life, I just wasn't interested in this type of, first person RPG-esque style game, cyberpunk type of game. And then when I picked it, and I was like, let me just go pick it up on Switch too, and absolutely love the story. I need to go and finish the Phantom Liberty DLC, but again, a great recommend. Earlier, I think it was earlier this year, there was like or maybe it was either early this year or late last year, there was a crazy sale that was not intended, that the game went on for sale for like $17 on the eShop, and I think a lot of people ended up picking it up. Other games that the other physicals that I have is I got the Resident Evil 3-pack that came for the Switch 2, Resident Evil 7, 8, and 9. 7 and 8 I've already played before on other consoles, but I ended up replaying them on Switch 2. Great experiences, flawless. I have no issues. Everything runs great. And then 9. 9 is probably my game of the year contender at the moment between this and like Pocopia. It is absolutely one of my favorite Resident Evil games. I don't know if it's my favorite one. Like 4 is probably still up there. But this game is incredible, and it runs so well on the Switch too. I was so impressed on how well it runs. Yes, there's some frame rate issues here and there, but Capcom, like between this and Pragmata, like they have just killed it on the Switch 2 so far, and then Monster Hunter Stories 3 as well. And then, yeah, man, it's just so many good games on the Switch 2. It's been such a fun ride so far. And then we have other stuff. I'm just gonna pull up my Switch 2 and just kind of briefly go through some of the digital games that I have. And I've put so many hours into the Switch 2 so far this year. Pokemon Pocopia. This was a surprise game for me. I did not intend on picking this one up. But my brother absolutely, he sent me a couple of eShop cards for my birthday. So shout out to my brother for that. And he said, "Hey, pick up Pocopia or don't." But I picked it up, and I probably put at this point 70 plus hours into Pocopia. It is one of my top played games this year, and one of my favorites. I think this is arguably, and it's all my opinion, so maybe not arguably, but I think this is one of my favorite Pokemon games ever made. And the fact that it's a spin-off, cozy kind of game, I absolutely loved it. Mina Holler, I haven't played too much of it yet, but excited to dive more into it. Played some Mixtape. I thought that game was okay. I don't think it's a 10 out of 10 like some people are saying, but that's okay. Opinions. Everyone's got opinions. It's all good. And then let me just look at some other, and we had some really good stuff, Xenoblade Chronicles X Switch 2 edition. I need to go play some more of that. Pokemon Fire Red, obviously that's a Switch version, but that did come out in February. And then stuff like Kenna Bridge of Spirits, that game I'm so excited that game came to the Switch too, because it's one of those the perfect game for a Switch, right? Definitely had some frame rate issues as well, but the game was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Cannot wait for the sequel for that. And that's really what I expect for the Switch too. We're gonna get so many games that have already released, but can finally actually run on a Nintendo console. Just going through briefly, Dispatch I played through last year. One of those funny ones where the game was censored for whatever reason. Didn't really take me out of the experience, but it was a little weird that game specifically got censored. Going back through here, and then Tomb Raider Definitive Edition came out on the Switch too. Great game. Obviously, that's an old game. Came out in 2013 at this point, 2011, 2012, 2013. Runs great on the Switch too, and I'm sure they'll put the rest of the Survivor trilogy on the Switch too at some point. And then Pokemon ZA, again, didn't plan on picking it up, but after it came out, I was like, you know what? I'm kind of in the mood for a Pokemon game. Really, really enjoyed it for what it was. Visually, not good. Excited for what Wind and Waves has to offer for Pokemon on the visual scale. So we'll see if they can finally deliver on that part. Chronos was another. Obviously, this was like a multi-platform game, but Chronos is an excellent survival horror game. Similar to Silent Hill, Resident Evil, all that good stuff. Bloober Team has been kind of quickly shot up to like a team that I am looking forward to. Anything they put out, I'm looking forward to playing, because between Silent Hill 2 and now Chronos, and Chronos runs and looks visually impressive on the Switch too. There's supposed to be Chronos Lazarus, and it's a new game in the series, which is crazy because that game came out last year. So I'm excited for whatever that is. Am I missing anything else? Let's see. I don't think that I am. Oh, Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight Silksong. Great, great sequel to Hollow Knight. I'll probably say that I probably enjoyed Hollow Knight 1 more than Silksong. I started getting real frustrated, and obviously it's a get good mentality with these types of games, but I started getting frustrated with some of those later bosses in the game. I don't know. I had a little bit of a difficult time with those, and I was getting extremely frustrated. So then maybe that took away from my experience a little bit. Where in Hollow Knight, there was definitely some frustrating bosses, like some tough bosses, but I never got caught up. And those games like this and Souls-like games, everyone's got that one or two boss fights that they're just grinding hours and hours at. Where I might beat Malenia on my first try, where it might take someone 500 tries, or vice versa, or another boss or whatever. So it's just one of those things with with those types of games and fighting that. So I think that's everything that I want to go over with the Switch 2. I mean, there's other stuff that I played this year on my Switch 2, but they're not new games per se. And then I guess we'll talk about Welcome Tour. The game that should have been a pack-in. I did end up picking that up and played a little bit of, but again, it really should have been a pack-in game to really show off what like the Switch can do. So yeah, I guess that's a good jumping off point. So I've talked about all the games that I want to talk about. So I want to talk about what Switch 2, like, because it has not been a perfect experience, and the Switch 2 editions, I don't think any of them have been worth the $20 upgrade. Mario Wonder, Kirby had the upgrade, Mario Party Jamboree had the upgrade, and then some get a free upgrade, and then some have like a $5 upgrade, like Animal Crossing and Xenoblade Chronicles X, which I don't think is egregious, but it's like, I wish that would have just been part of NSO. And personally, I really think that all the Switch 2 upgrades, like if you already owned the Switch 1 version, I feel like it should have just been included in NSO. Kind of how Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom was, and those have been, to my knowledge, the only two Switch editions that are part of NSO. So for a while, it felt like we were getting nickel and dime, and maybe we still are. I don't really know. And I'll talk about the improvements that I think Nintendo has made this year specifically. But at first, it came out that the console was $450, $500 with the bundle with Mario Kart. Mario Kart World was $80. That like made a huge conversation, a huge fuss, a huge mess on social media about Mario Kart being $80. And then people are like, well, if that's $80, GTA 6 is definitely going to be $100, in which we still don't know the price of that. So it just started to add like this really bad conversation. I think it really a mess and doom and gloom behind the launch of the Switch 2, which is definitely frustrating. And even stuff like Xbox came out and said the Outer Wilds 2 was going to be an $80 game, and they quickly reversed course on that one, and that ended up, I think, being a $70 game. So there was just a lot of and that's when the tariff situation was happening. They delayed Switch 2 pre-orders or something like that got delayed with the Switch 2 because the pricing, because we just weren't sure with the tariffs. And then all the accessories went up by like $5 or $10. So it really felt like Nintendo was nickel and diming us, and I could feel that because, and again, like, it's all optional stuff, right? Like, you don't have to buy the the Switch 2 editions of these games. But again, none of these really felt like it was or have been worth it so far. And, maybe the Wonder one was worth it. I'm not sure. I didn't pick that one up. I picked up the Kirby one, and I didn't really find that DLC too interesting, I think. And then I picked up the Switch 2 edition of Animal Crossing and Xenoblade Chronicles X because they were $5, so why not? So that's kind of all the negative stuff with the Switch 2. Like, so let's jump into the positives that I think Nintendo has made specifically this year with the Switch 2. Obviously, yes, they did have the price increase. We kind of knew it was coming. The 50, so they had the 50, and it's in comparison to the Steam Deck, a PlayStation, and Xbox. A $50 price increase, I don't think is too egregious. I don't think it's too terrible. I think it is not great. Like, I don't want anything to increase, and we are in like unprecedented times in the game industry because typically we only see prices go down as time goes on and we get deeper into a console's life cycle. We never see them go up, and as much as they have had, I mean, Xbox and PlayStation have both had, 2 price increases at this point, and Steam Deck, a thing that came out in 2022, so it's 5 years old, increased by like $300-$250 for both those models, which is absolutely insane. So even with the $50 price increase with the Switch 2, it's still the budget console, and I still think it's one of the best handhelds on the market. I mean, no, can it do Steam? No, but you're getting Nintendo games at their best right now. They're all really, really great. And the third-party support has been fantastic on the Switch. Like, we've had so many great ports, specifically from Capcom. Like, they've kind of carried this generation. So I'm looking forward to getting more third-party support on the Switch too. I definitely think it's going to be there, because the system can handle it with the DLSS and the fact that they can make their games with the low low 480p 560p and then AI upscale it to 1080p 1440p 4K. Like, I think that's such a genius thing that Nintendo did, because they knew that, like, as time goes on, as games get more hardware requirements, like, they're going to get quickly left in the dust, right? That's really what happened with the Switch. And why there wasn't the best third-party support on the Switch 1. And the ones that did come over were like really bad ports. Like The Witcher 3 was not a great port at the time. So I think between that and like the third-party support, I think it's been great. And now let's talk about the pricing. I think the biggest thing I've been wanting to talk about and have been talking about with all these console price increases, because like, we get it with the tariffs and the RAM situation and it being used for AI. We understand, I think, that consoles have to go up in price in order to keep them being manufactured. But maybe because the consoles are more expensive, maybe let's bring down the price of games. We've seen some companies kind of delve with that, like the new Control Resonant. Like, that's a $60 game. I think stuff like that is really, really cool, where I think more companies should be thinking about that, because I've talked about it before, but like the game like Saros on the PS5, I don't think that should have been a $70 game. I think it should have been a $60 game and maybe even a $50 game. Now, I understand that Returnal was a $70 game, and I still had that same sentiment at the time as well, where it should have been cheaper. It would have just sold more copies. I would have purchased it at a lower price. I'm not going to buy that game at $70. I'm either going to wait for a sale. Again, I think more, especially the big three, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, just need to explore more with variable pricing, versus just automatically making every game $70, which is where I want to talk about Nintendo. Because starting with Yoshi, they announced, and I really think it was Mario Tennis Fever that really made them think about variable pricing and what they should be charging in order to sell more copies, because I don't think Mario Fever hit a million. I think the last sales report, last financial report, it didn't hit a million. Usually, when any game hits a million, Nintendo's going to put it on their financial report. It didn't when that game launched in, I believe, February. And in Mario sports games, they don't sell like crazy amounts anyways, but they usually always sell at least a million and up, 2 million, 3 million. And the fact that didn't probably change something within their company, because they said, hey, this game shouldn't have been 70. It should have been a $60 game, a $50 game. At least 60, right? I think the game would have sold more, because it's easier once you go to a cash register or whatever. I'm just using it as an example. It's easy to stomach after tax. It's easier to stomach $64 versus $74, right? We're getting closer to that $100 kind of range, so it's easier to stomach that pricing versus the 74. So starting with Yoshi, they announced that the digital version was going to be $59.99. The physical was going to be $69.99. Of course, immediately the internet jumped on and said, "Hey, this is Nintendo silently increasing their games, because they thought that Yoshi shouldn't have been a $70 game, that it was going to be a $60 game all along." And I just don't think that's the case. I think 70 is the new price tag for Nintendo, for their first party stuff. But then Nintendo never talks about that stuff, right? Once they announce it. And then we got the news about Star Fox. Star Fox is $49.99. I'm just gonna say $50 digitally and $60 physically. So immediately after that announcement, we realized that no, they actually are discounting their games digitally. Which, ever since gaming got into the digital market, I always thought that digital should be cheaper, because you're not paying for the plastic boxes, and you're not paying to manufacture the discs. So like you're saving, these companies are saving money digitally already. So I've always thought they should have been at least $10 cheaper, or at least $5. But Nintendo was finally jumping into that foray, and I think that's really cool. And even stuff like Splatoon Raiders, it's a $50 game digitally, $60 physically. So Nintendo is definitely jumping into the variable pricing. I think it's super important, because Star Fox isn't going to sell well at 70. Let's be honest. It's a remake of 64. Again, Star Fox has never been that serious to sell. I think this is the opportunity for Star Fox to actually sell a bunch of copies. I mean, if Star Fox can't sell over 3 million right now when it launches later on this month, we may not get another Star Fox ever, because we have over 20 million Switch 2s on the market right now, so people are hungry for games, and it's your hardcore audience, right? For Nintendo, like all the hardcore Nintendo fans have bought the Switch 2, and Star Fox is definitely one of those like legendary franchises within the Nintendo community. And then you have the hype from the Mario movie. Like that was one of the best segments from the Galaxy movie, was Star Fox. He was so cool. So build off that hypeness, have Star Fox. That's what they're planning on. So I'm hoping that it does sell pretty well. So yeah, Nintendo is exploring variable pricing. I think that's awesome. Once we get to Ocarina of Time or the next Mario, whatever the next 3D Mario game is that going to be 80, or is Mario Kart World the only $70, the only $80 game? And they were just kind of experimenting with that price tag. So still more questions to be answered in the future with their games, but I'm really, really liking where Nintendo is at right now with their games, with the Switch 2 in general, not only first party and third party. Yes, I know people are clamoring, and I am as well, for a Nintendo Direct, and it looks like, according to all the insiders, that we're going to be getting one next Tuesday, as of this recording, the 9th. So we should be getting the Zelda's 40th stuff, Fire Emblem, and then whatever else Nintendo has coming, Dustblood, stuff like that. So overall, I'm very, very pleased with the Switch 2 experience so far. And again, going back to the price increase, like usually with the Xbox and PlayStation, like it's the next day or that day that the price increase happens. They're giving us until September in the US to get this thing purchased, and then it's going to increase in price. So while I think the first 6 months of the Switch 2's life cycle, it felt like Nintendo was nickel diming us every step of the way. Like, again, Welcome Tour, it was a $10 game, like, just include it in, like, why not? The latter half of the year, I think they've done a great job to calm people's minds and get people excited about what to look forward to, and that's kind of where I'm at with the Switch 2. It's been my number one console for the entire year. I've barely touched my Xbox. I've been recently playing Forza. Barely touched my PlayStation 5, other than playing Fortnite on there, which Fortnite's on the Switch 2 as well, and runs great. So very pleased with the Switch 2. I think it's been a fantastic year, and it's crazy to think. This may be a little bit incorrect, but the fact that the Switch 2 has had more, or on par with first party, or with just exclusives in general, versus Xbox and PlayStation in their entire life of the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, and Nintendo's pretty close to what their exclusives are, like first party wise. Kind of insane. And again, I'm sure they've had a few more than Nintendo has, but it's not that far off, which is still a crazy thing to think, and that has happened over the last 5 years or so. So again, excited for the Switch 2, excited for Ocarina of Time remake. Hopefully that's a real thing. And let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Have you guys enjoyed your Switch 2? Have you had your Switch 2 since day one, or is there a specific game that you picked up a Switch 2 for? And if you haven't picked up a Switch 2 and you're thinking about it, I would highly recommend it. There's a ton of great games to play, and it's going to increase in price here soon. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. If you guys, this is a very long video, and I do apologize about that. I didn't intend for it to be this long, but if you're still here, leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video.